You know, legacy is one of those words that just feels huge, right? Like something for the history books. But what if it's way simpler than that? This quote, it just nails it. Our real legacy isn't some big one-off gesture. Nope. It's built in the small, consistent things we do, day in and day out.
Just think about your own family for a second. There's a certain rhythm, isn't there? A set of habits, the way you do birthdays or how you talk or don't talk about money. And over time, all those little repeated actions, whether you planned them or they just kind of happened, they're all quietly writing your family's story. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into how you can be the one holding the pen. We're going to look at how to create these simple, really meaningful family rituals that make you stronger, together, without feeling all forced or fake. We've broken it down into 5 key parts. First, we're going to talk about what a ritual really is. Then we'll see how that daily repetition literally builds your identity. We'll get super practical with rituals for handling tough times and for building strong character. And then we'll wrap it up with the blueprint for making them stick. Okay, let's jump right in. When most of us hear the word ritual, our minds kind of go to something formal, maybe even a little stuffy. But for what we're talking about today, we need a much more useful, everyday definition.
At its absolute core, a ritual is just a repeated behavior that has meaning attached to it. That's it. It's not about some grand ceremony, it's about significance. It's about taking a simple, recurring thing you do and attaching a value to it, a value you want your family to live by.
And this is where you can really see the difference. On one side, you've got ceremonies. They're usually formal, you don't do them very often, and sometimes they can feel a little put on. But on the other side, you've got a family ritual. It's simple, it's consistent, and this is the most important part, it's authentic to who you are. That authenticity makes it so much more powerful. So, through this quiet repetition, these little rituals are sending some pretty powerful messages. They're signaling what really matters in your family, what's expected from everybody, and what's just normal. And over time, this becomes your family's unwritten rulebook. It becomes, simply, this is how we operate. So, how does this all add up to something even bigger? Well, it builds identity. Because what a family does over and over again isn't just a bunch of actions. It's the slow, steady construction of who you are as a unit. There was this psychologist, Erik Erikson, who said we all wrestle with these huge questions to figure out who we are. And you know what? Family rituals provide the very first and probably the most powerful answers. They create this shared world that helps everyone understand their part in the family story. Psychologists actually have a name for this: narrative identity. It's basically the story we tell ourselves about who we are. So families with strong rituals are in a way co-writing a story together, a story that gives everyone purpose and a sense of connection from one generation to the next. And you can see the process is actually beautiful and simple. A small action happens over and over. Meaning gets attached to it, whether you say it out loud or not. It just becomes the normal way you do things. And right there, from that repetition, identity starts to grow. Now, this is something every parent really needs to hear. Kids don't learn their identity from lectures about values. No way. They learn it by watching what actually happens, week after week, during stressful moments, and especially in how the family deals with it when somebody messes up. All right, let's get super practical now. Rituals really show their power when they give a structure and a sense of safety during life's tougher moments. So let's look at 2 of the biggest ones: money and conflict. Money doesn't have to be this big, scary, off-limits topic. Simple rituals can make it normal. Imagine having a quick, 5-minute money check-in once a month, or actually celebrating when someone in the family chooses to wait for a bigger reward instead of buying something small right now. These simple things make money manageable and teach responsibility.
And the exact same thing is true for conflict. Really resilient families have a predictable way they handle disagreements. Maybe it's a rule that everyone has to cool down before talking. Or maybe it's always sitting face-to-face to work things out. Or even just a promise to end fights with clarity, never, ever with the silent treatment.
So what's really happening here is that when the process for dealing with a fight is predictable, the fear around it just shrinks. That structure, that predictability, that's what builds the emotional safety net that a family needs to get through the hard stuff and actually come out stronger. But, rituals aren't just for playing defense, for managing problems. You can use them proactively to actually build strong character and bake a sense of purpose right into your family's DNA.
A really powerful way to do this is to create rituals that shift your family's focus from what can we get to what can we give. And this can be as simple as asking, what are we grateful for at dinner? Or making a habit of talking about who did we get to help this week.
This quote from the Desai family just captures it perfectly. For a family like theirs, giving back isn't some special occasion, it's woven right into who they are. It's not just something they do, it's their identity.
Okay, so this brings us to the blueprint, the how-to. It's great to be inspired, but how do you create rituals that actually stick around? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, and it has absolutely nothing to do with being perfect. First, and most importantly, they have to be real. Don't try to copy some ritual from another family if it doesn't fit who you are. I mean, if you're a loud, chaotic family, a silent, formal dinner ritual is just doomed from the start. The strongest rituals feel like you, just on purpose. Here are the 3 magic ingredients: simple, consistent, and authentic. The goal is never to be impressive. The goal is to be repeatable. A 5-minute check-in every single Sunday night that actually happens is 1,000,000 times more powerful than some grand family retreat that you only ever talk about doing someday. Remember, consistency always beats intensity. Because the ultimate outcome, the legacy you're building with every tiny repeated action, it all comes down to this one simple but powerful sentence. When someone in your family can say with total confidence, "This is how our family does things," you know the ritual has become identity. And that is legacy in action.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. If all these intentional rituals create strong families, what happens when that strength starts to ripple outward? How does building a legacy inside your own home end up shaping your entire community? Now that's a question worth exploring.